Right, we're going to catch some lobsters, cook them, kill them, prep them, and serve them on the menu tonight. Boom! Today we're with Dan in Port 11, my good mate Judah, Dakota. We're going to go catch some lobster. Yeah.
Put it straight in the bin, put it right and put it in. Full. That's it. Right, hand on the handle. Perfect. Good job, mate. Well. Okay, steady. A bit more. Keep going up, 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 up. Stop. Perfect. Good job. Right. I'll do this. I'll do this. Right. Look. Go on, turn it over. Okay, there we go. And now you can do what you want. So the reason I clear it so quickly is because they will fight each other. Hold it, look. Hold it like I am, not by the tail.
Yeah.
Okay, and make sure you don't drop it. That's it. You guys. Good job. Oh,
beautiful, that one.
Okay, they're in nice and neat now. So you can see the spider crab as well. And very tight from there. Oh, that's good. That's more than enough. Okay. So it's got to come to the back.
The back?
The back, the right at the back here.
Oh, so it's just,
so that's way inside, that's all right.
Awesome.
Okay? Yes. There we go. Okay. Sorry about
that. These are these beautiful lobsters back in the restaurant now. It's important to keep them in the dark. Obviously, it is a live animal, so you've got to be respectful when you're killing it. People say to freeze them first. I often think that the best way is just to put them out of the misery and just go straight through. I mean, there's no way it's going to survive that. It's dead pretty much instantly. You can see there's a small divot here where you put the knife, and it's still moving around. That's just the reflexes going, but that is completely dead. Same one here, just put it out of its misery straight away. Don't have them waiting around too long. Yeah, so dead. Now they will move around a little bit. They'll probably still keep twitching for a couple of minutes. It's so easy when you're in the restaurant every day just to be like, oh yeah, you know, lobsters coming in a polystyrene box, and for you not to respect them, but they are an amazing creature, really. So when you're prepping and taking the claws off, just push them against the natural way the claw should go, and this will continue to retract whilst you're prepping it. So the important thing to realise that these are just the sensors going, but do not put your finger in between there, because as it keeps twitching and moving, you can actually really damage your finger by just putting it in there and it closing and clamping around on your finger. So after that, we remove each of these legs. So I think typically, if you don't know how to prep lobster, you can end up wasting quite a lot of the good meat. But there's so much meat inside the head, inside the legs, everywhere really on a lobster. There's only two little bits that usually go into the bin, and that's these antennas here. So they add, basically make your stocks a little bit cloudy, and they're not the best. They don't have really any flavour. So now I've taken all the legs off, and what I'm going to do is just lightly go in with a sharp knife and just release from the top bit of cartilage. This is optional. You can just twist it right away, but I always think you get a better yield like this. Awesome. And now we've got this beautiful coral from the head. Now this is like gold dust. This in Spain, they'll literally just make a sauce a la minute. The sauce will just be heated up, and you whisk this in last minute, and it'll turn it a beautiful, vibrant colour. So this head is what we're going to use to make the sauce. Now just go in. What you want to do is remove these. Now these in the kitchen we call these dead man's fingers. So this is basically the lungs of a lobster. So this is all the stuff that the impurities from the water. These are inedible. So the other part of a lobster that's not really edible is the dead man fingers. But the rest of this beautiful brain coral is super delicious. So we really don't want to waste that. You can still see that the lobster is well and truly dead, but it is still moving quite aggressively. So you've got to be careful with them the whole way through. I've removed all the dead man's fingers here, and then just continue to remove all of this amazing coral. You won't get that on, it's about 50-50 whether or not you get the coral in. It's usually related to when they're spawning. It's basically like when you get the prawn and you're sucking the head meat out. It's like that. With the lobster, I like to use, every little bit. High value product, so you don't want to waste any of it. And also, like, the amount of flavour that's in this head is just absolutely ridiculous. So we're making a sauce out of this. So just going to do the same now with number 2. You want this beautiful tail to stay intact when you're cooking it. So the best way to do that is to put a spoon down the end. Now this is spasms and continues to go like that. So now there's no way that it can retract. And when you cook the meat, the natural tendency is for the lobster to curl up, and then you get this, like, you don't get the beautiful natural shape of a lobster tail. Now what we're going to do with the lobster is we're going to actually cook all of the different parts. The tail will cook on the barbecue. I don't know why, but there's something about barbecue lobster, it's just got this ridiculous flavour. The legs, I'll show you how to get the most amount of meat out of them. So it's one of those things, lobsters, we don't actually get a huge amount of lobsters we don't sell a huge amount of lobster in the restaurant. It's just so expensive. We get it for, like, if we get it for about £28 a kilo, it means that by the time you've finished it, you'll have to sell it for something like, close to the region of 80 quid for a lobster. Which some restaurants can justify, but for us it's tricky. So cool, so we've got a pan boiling here. We're gonna add some white wine vinegar. So the vinegar adds a little bit of seasoning, but also what it does, it helps for the meat to come away from the shell. I usually cook the claws, big claws like this, for about 10 minutes, maybe less sometimes, 8 minutes. And then these ones like this, about 5 or 6 minutes. But then the actual lobster meat itself, you definitely want to be serving that at about 54 degrees. The actual tails itself, we need to remove this outer shell. So in order to do that, we just need to blanch them first. So we're just going to put them into the water. We're just making sure the outside shell can be removed really easily. So it's still going to be raw. Now my water's not absolutely vociferously boiling. It's probably about 90 degrees. That's absolutely fine. So you're literally talking about a minute. Right, so whack your claws in now. So they're going to go in. I'm going to set a 2-minute timer, and then what we're going to start doing is just working our way down the underside with some really sharp scissors, being careful not to go too far in. So there we can see this beautiful meat starts to release. Just be super gentle at this stage, because you don't want to break any of those, because what you want is that, like, absolutely stunning. It's like such a beautiful creature. So don't rush when you go around these. So drop the claws in now. So this is our raw but sort of perfectly cooked lobster tail. Everything's intact on there. Just so beautiful. Again, all going into the sauce. Right, so these claws have just been in there for a good amount of time. Now I'm just going to remove them from the, wrap them in the ice bath. You can just quite easily take all the meat out just using a rolling pin. Yeah, I mean, lobster's super expensive, really. I think it's one of those ones that's it's really good for a special occasion. I think if you've got like a Tinder date coming around and they I don't know what the kids are using these days, or if it's all about the Hinge these days, apparently, isn't it? Yeah, I think if you want to impress someone, I think lobster's a pretty good way to go, personally. So that's our lobster tail with meat. Now we're just going to do the claws. A little bit of oil, trim goes in. See, my pan is super hot. I want to get a nice colour on it straight away. So this is going to give a really nice caramelised roasted flavour and get rid of all of the liquid straight away with a good amount of butter. Basically what we're going to make here is like a really nice infused lobster butter. Now this looks excessive, but we're going to continue to use butter to deglaze the bottom of the pan. Then we're going to add loads of aromats in, and then we're going to use that butter to cook it, and then this beautiful coral to finish a nice sauce. So more butter goes in. So these have just been iced down a little bit. What we're going to do now is just release the meat. So if they're cooked properly, that should just pull out nicely and clean. Whack that into the butter. Just go against the grain of the joint. I just use the flat side of a cleaver. I actually think it sounds quite aggressive, but I think it's sometimes the easiest way and the most delicate way to get it out, so it's nice and whole, like so. And also when it's whole, you can see if there's little bits of shell that you've missed. Slightly teasing out the other claw there. Use scissors for the rest. Down here, tease that meat out. So that's the knuckle joint. And then the last little stage, these little ones, again, flat side down. And just tease the whole thing out. Gel into the pan. So that foaming lobster butter there. Just get all those little caramelised bits are just infusing into the butter. That's our finished lobster with the coral that we're going to cook upstairs. Got the claws, the knuckles, the leg, tail, which is still raw, and then we're going to heat this up and cook it upstairs. So now, just for this lobster butter, I'm just going to add some ginger, garlic, and some kaffir lime leaves. Smells incredible. Smells like, you know, beautiful roasted lobsters with really fresh, vibrant kaffir. So that's been about 10 minutes infusing now. Smells incredible. I'm just going to pass that out. Taken on a lot of that colour from the cooked shell. And this is what's going to be such a game changer when you cook your lobster. So now we're just going to season up this lobster tail. Season it all over. Give it a good amount of oil because it will stick a little bit. So we're just getting a nice bit of colour on this lobster. And we're going to run it through the oven. Remember our internal temp, about 54 degrees, okay? So whilst we're doing that, we can just make the sauce. So a small amount of butter emulsion. So this is all that lobster brains. I've just heated up the emulsion. This is just a really simple butter emulsion. So all that lobster brain goes in with the corals, switch to the hand blender. Warm up those claws with this curry mussel butter. And the legs as well. What you're aiming to do is we're aiming to cook that lobster coral and the lobster brain out. And as it does that, it'll go this beautiful bright red colour. You can already see it starting to happen on the outside, so it's super important you don't do this too fast, because you essentially get scrambled lobster brain. So gentle, 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 and you can see the colour starting to change already. So low, low heat. If you take this too far, it'll scramble and go really lumpy, so it's really important that just take it off now, where it's just starting to come together. Yeah. There's our beautiful claws, not too cooked as well. Give them a little flash under the Sally. So you can see it's still cooking, that sauce.
What is that, chef?
Lobster brain sauce.
I thought it was katsu curry for the goulash shots.
So finish it off with a little bit of lemon juice. So claws. Just literally drench that lobster in that sauce, and that curry butter. So we're not looking for it to be like really, really knackered the whole way through. Where people go wrong with lobsters quite often is super, super cooked and all the protein kind of comes out of it. You got like a nice cuisson on there.
Oh God! Rubbish, thank you.
Dressing it with a little bit more of the lobster butter.
Oh wait, this is my run.
Claw either side.
Next sashata ready?
Look at it.
Alright, Ollie,
Yes, chef.
we're going to serve all of the chef counter a bit of lobster, okay?
Alright,
We've got lobster with a lobster tail, lobster brain sauce, crispy curry leaves. I caught it myself.
what did you say? Ah, was this with lobster fishing?
Lobster fishing, chef.
Very nice. Heard you almost fell in.
To be honest, it did take me a while to get my sea legs. There we go, finished lobster.
Wonderful.
No worries.